traders. Excuse me. This is Blake Morrow. You are listening to the Morning Edge webinar, and it's time to get started. We actually have some data today. We have Philly Fed, unemployment claims, current account, leading index. You know, not massive amounts of. Look at equities are turning here a little bit. Not massive amounts of data or anything like that, but stuff that could give maybe move the dollar or any currency pair maybe about 20 pips or so. I don't think there's going to be any massive movements today. I think you're going to start to see a lot of winding down for the end of the year. I think a lot of institutional traders are, they were specifically waiting for yesterday, to finish things up. And because of that, we're seeing that we're at the end of the year the market's just you got a lot of institutional clients that are just kind of probably wrapping things up now and getting ready to leave for this week. So with that being said, I think volatility is going to start to get a little it's going to be a lot less volatility, a little bit more grinding. You got to be careful of sharp movements though every once in a while, because if some big order flow comes through the market, that could obviously influence the market. All right, so let's take a look at the euro dollar. So the euro, now that we've popped out of this this little channel here. Here, let me get rid of this really quick. I don't think we need that. You can see how we're holding around the 38% retracement. I think the natural support, for the euro dollar is going to be the 50% retracement, or this horizontal support that comes in at 108. So my assumption is 108 is going to be really key support today. On the way down. If you're bullish the euro, or this is something you don't want to see broken, I don't think. Now, resistance is going to be any rally back up here. So, to re-challenge, I think it looks like that. So any rally up towards 109 and, let's call it like 109 and a quarter. That's going to probably see some resistance. Let's just assume, and this is, you can't really assume this right yet, but let's assume that's the low. 109 and a quarter is the 50% retracement, so 109.20. So I think that any rally above 109, especially if you can get 109.25, I think that'll be good resistance. I do believe we are in a range environment. Okay, so if today, if the euro rallies to 109 and a quarter, I'll probably be shorting the euro dollar. Just to let you guys know. Okay, if we can make it all the way up there, that will trigger a short for me. Let's take a look at the cable. So the cable is at horizontal support here. All right, it is really, really important support for bulls. I don't think I can stress the importance of 149 at the moment. Now, here's the thing, guys. Retail sales overnight came in really strong. They did. Now, I didn't look into the retail sales numbers, but whatever the numbers, they were strong. Listen, if you want to get long the cable and put a stop somewhere below 149, like 149, I would say probably fairly deep, like 149.70 something. You can consider that. I don't think that's a bad idea. You have to get a little room because obviously stops look vulnerable below 149. But we're also in this descending wedge here. Let's go over to the daily chart. We're in this descending wedge here. Let's get rid of that really quick. Oh, we don't need all this stuff right now. Okay. 149, and then you got the 786 retracement comes in at 148.50. Ultimately, if you can get long down here, I think that's going to be a good place to be on the long side for a bounce. Not necessarily you want to be long for good. I understand that that would be a pretty damn good bounce area. Because overall, I mean, cable looks heavy. It looks like we do want to eventually take out the stops below here. So I just don't know how far we'll get. But I will put 148.55. I'll just do 0.49. Okay. Those are all areas of support for the cable. Resistance, well, I would assume that now any rally back up towards 150, you're going to find sellers. We even spiked up there following the retail sales, I guess. Yeah. I mean, we hit 150 and pulled back. I mean, 150 is going to be a big number. Just a big, big number. You can see it right through here. So 150 is going to be key resistance for today. I think anybody who is long is probably looking at 150 and saying, man, if I can get 150 again, I'll probably sell up there. I would think. All right, let's take a look at the Swissy. Yeah, like I said, if you missed it, I actually bought the Swissy yesterday. I picked it up. I started buying the Swissy at 98.50. I did not cherry pick the bottom at 98 cents. I mean, I recognize that it held, but it wasn't until about 98.48 that I started buying, and then I bought more at like 7 or 80 something. So my cost average is 98.68, and I'm sitting in it. And again, the reason why I bought that is because gold didn't sell off yesterday. So when gold didn't sell off, that was my cue. Now let's figure out where we're going to go here. Okay, so any dip now to 99.25, there's going to be buyers. 99.25. Oops. 99.25. Hell, I might even add a little bit if we get down there. If we get down there, I might even add a little bit. Everybody knows why 98 cents is a huge support, because it is the 618 on the daily chart, so I can get rid of that. Everybody should have that memorized now. We've talked about it a lot over the last couple of days. So I'll take this spike high up here. .38% retracement comes in at parity, so parity is going to be a big obstacle for the Swissy on the way up. Okay, and we are in a range. Okay, let's take a look at the yen. So here's the dollar yen. The dollar yen has surpassed. I actually. Oh, by the way, you want to know where I didn't nail it yesterday? I didn't nail it in the dollar yen. I was actually short the dollar yen. My cost average was like 122.20, and I closed it at 122.40. So I took a loss in the dollar yen yesterday because I was shorting it as we hit the 618. But when the dollar started to rally, I was like, yeah, I'm going to cover that just in case. Because when the dollar started to rally, like I was up like 50 pips in my dollar Swiss at that point. I was like, yeah, I don't think I'm going to stay short the dollar yen. I don't know how far this sucker can go. We do have the BOJ meeting tonight. So the Bank of Japan does meet tonight, not expecting any policy change, which Obviously, if the Bank of Japan did some sort of quantitative easing tonight, the dollar yen would be, well, probably new highs, I would suspect. Hold on. Okay, so um, we didn't stop anywhere in particular in the dollar yen. Not that I can see, but maybe we did here. I don't think it. I don't think this is even 127% extension. No, but you can see the 127% extension and 786 up here comes in at 122, 122.80. So I think that's going to be good resistance for today. 122.80 and support. Obviously, support's being held up right here, 122.20, which is the 618, and that's obviously the previous support, current resistance. See, I shorted the dollar yen as we hit this, because what had happened, if you guys weren't watching quickly, when I shorted the dollar yen, I literally shorted it right here. It dropped, and I was like, oh man, it dropped. When I was sitting there short, I mean, it dropped. Because this is the first trade I did following the FOMC. It dropped like to 121.60 or something like that, and I was thinking at that point, dude, I nailed it. And but when gold didn't sell off or gold didn't rally, and I went and picked up the Swissy, I was more watching the Swissy at that time, but the dollar yen started to spike up here, and I was like, oh crap, I need to get out of this thing. So I took a loss in it. But you can see we're holding that as support. So 122.20 is support right now. But you got to watch equities. As equities are rolling over here, that might influence the yen pairs lower. Okay, let's go over to the Canadian. So the dollar Canadian, well, we hit the 161% extension. I actually shorted the dollar Canadian yesterday ahead of the FOMC and made some money. If you guys were on the Lunch Money webinar, most of you were there, so that's great. And obviously that's holding as resistance. But here's the thing. The dollar looks pretty strong. And, here's that trend line that we were following yesterday. The trend line still applies. As long as we're above this blue line right here, I don't think there's any reason to be on the short side of the dollar Canadian. 137.85, that is support. 137.85. And while that is intact, you have to imagine that we're going to hit new highs. Now, 138.47, so I'll put 138.50. Now, 50. Okay. Oops, this is bullish. I'm sorry. As long as that support stays intact, I wouldn't be on the short side of the dollar Canadian. However, if you see that support give way, I would start looking at the Canadian as a long against. You might not even want to short the dollar Canadian. You might be like, well, screw that. I don't want to short the dollar, and I don't blame you. I mean, it's a hard argument to start shorting the dollar right now, unless you're trading the dollar yen. If you're out there shorting any other dollar trades right now, that's a hard argument. I don't think I could buy into that. But if the dollar Canadian does break that support, 137.85, maybe you start looking at the Euro Canadian, Pound Canadian. I did short the New Zealand Canadian this morning, just to let you know. That was I have to blame Ron for that. I mean, I'm up 12 pips, so I'm going to thank him. But if I lose money, I'm going to blame him. I'm just kidding. But I was, the New Zealand Canadian actually hit the 618 retracement this morning, right there, and so I shorted it. Okay, but the trades like this, like short side of the New Zealand Canadian, that's going to be a good. Those are going to be good trades if the New Zealand or if the dollar Canadian breaks through, that 137.85. New Zealand Canadian, Aussie Canadian, Pound Canadian, Euro Canadian, things like that. Maybe buy the Canadian yen, who knows? Okay, we were talking about the Canadian. Let's go over the Kiwi. Speaking of New Zealand, here's the Kiwi dollar. So New Zealand GDP last night came in much stronger than expected, but I saw also Finance Minister English, Bill English, I think his name is. He had mentioned that the El Nino weather patterns, is going to shave off 0.3% of GDP. I say that's minimum. This is the strongest El Nino weather pattern we've seen in a long time. I think it could have a very, very dire impact on New Zealand agriculture. It's going to be extremely dry. So, but that's to be seen. But here's the thing: the Kiwi dollar is still struggling. We're between the 69 cents and 67 cents, really, and we're coming into 67 cents or close to 67, which will be 66.85, right? The support here. This is going to be really important, guys. If the Kiwi breaks through this support, you probably got to start looking at the Kiwi short against anything. Okay? Buy the Euro New Zealand, buy the Pound New Zealand, buy the Aussie New Zealand. If the New Zealand dollar breaks through this support, I don't know if that's going to happen today, but it's the same thing as if we broke up here in 69 cents, you'd have to start looking at New Zealand trades on the long side. So support here is at 68. I guess it's 68.90. It's key. Key support. It's just key support because we're coming into it. Like yesterday, I wasn't so worried about it because we were up here, but now that we're coming into that support and it looks relatively weak, you got to start paying a little bit closer attention. Resistance obviously is right here. I mean, you could say it's 69 cents, but we're not even anywhere close to that. So really, resistance is 68.25 right now. What? Wait. I'm sorry. 67. 66. Oh my God. 66. That's it. And 0.6825. There we go. And why did that? Has to be on bullish. That's on bullish. Okay. So there's New Zealand dollar. Let's take a look at the Aussie really quick, and then I'll put you on break. I need to go get some more coffee. Coffee time. Okay, so here's the Aussie. Wedging. 71.60 still, 71.55. Pretty key support. Matter of fact, it's so key that we're going to add alarm. Yep. Very important support level. Okay. Really key support. Resistance. $72. At this point, it's 72.40. Okay. range, but and by the way, this is longer term view. Here's your daily chart. You can see we're in a consolidation phase, but if we break this 71.50, 71 cents is, I would say it's pretty much going to happen. Then the question is, do we hold that? And if we don't, then it gets downright nasty. Right? Right. All right. Put you guys on hold for a few minutes. I'm going to go get some coffee. Don't go anywhere. Be right back. Then we'll do the dollar, Mexican peso, Norwegian krona, Swedish krona. Be right back. All right, folks. This is Blake Morrow. You were listening to the I can. What was I just gonna say? I want to. Oh, sorry, I was just in the middle of dealing with something really quick. Okay, so we're gonna finish up with the dollar index. Okay, here's the dollar index, and let's go into here, and this is what we got. So the dollar index right now has stopped at the, this is the resistance that we had from yesterday, and it's still at the same point. I'm actually surprised that we haven't really broke higher. 99, we had it at 99 cents, and it's really still here. The key will be if we can break through this, where we're going to go after that. So this is 98.95. And here you go. Oh, hold on really quick. Okay, so we have this nice little wedge here, and you can see the wedge. Hey, Ziggy and Nigel and Tony, that dude, he's a psychopath. Yeah, he's crazy. Just tell him he's crazy. Thank you. I appreciate you guys talking. I just saw that. I'm like, man, what a jackass. Okay. 99 cents here, and then support at 98.70. The funny thing is he's listening in right now too. He is a jackass, an idiot. 98.75 and 99. So we're just tightening up in a range right now. Support 98.75. And we're probably going to make a bullish break too, or a break, whether it's bullish or not, we'll see. But you can see there's a nice little break there that'll probably come. Nice little consolidation in the dollar index on the hourlies. Let's go over to the peso. All right, so the peso's come down pretty quick. I had taken all these lines off from yesterday and had to redraw everything. I don't know if you guys caught this yesterday. It was so funny. So do you remember our conversation I was having with Paul Franco yesterday? And he was like, oh, my power goes out, and it just drives me crazy. And I'm like, oh, yeah, that stinks. I remember living in Texas. That used to happen to me all the time. Power lines above ground. I'm like, that never happens to me. We lose power like every, probably once every, once a year if we're lucky. And literally, as I came off the webinar, we had a power surge, and it was 15 seconds, and it was the whole street. And so when the power came back on, I could hear homes down the street, their alarms were going off. And I was like, holy crap. Now, of course, what that did is it killed my desktop pro. Um, that 15 seconds, it killed the internet, you know. So when it killed the internet, it didn't kill my computer, just killed the internet. So when the internet came back up, it froze the program. So I lost all my drawings from yesterday. Of course, I so jinxed myself yesterday after saying that. I'm like, oh, that never happens to me. Yeah, well, okay. So what we got here is in the peso is we got a 618 retracement that comes in around 1685. Uh, you know, this if the market starts to see some risk aversion, this might not be a bad place to be on the long side of the peso. All right, we're oh, James said Bank of Mexico interest rate decision today for what it's worth. You know what? That isn't actually important. Hold on. Let me thank you. I totally forgot about that. Totally forgot about that, James. Thank you very much. I forgot they adjusted it for today to be behind the Fed decision. So that happens at noon my time. So at 2 o'clock. Okay, that's at 2 o'clock today. Thank you very much. Okay, so I guess what's really important then is we're going to widen that up a little bit. Any move down to 1668, maybe even a little bit lower. This might be a place to buy. I might actually put a buy in here, right here, because you know this daily trend line's key. I mean, as long as that yellow trend line's intact, we got to be on the long side. Right, and if the market feels some risk aversion, like you notice how the S&P is rejecting that 786, we talked about it earlier. The S&P has already come down quite a bit. If and I think Dow futures have come down. Yeah, Dow futures come down 30 points. If the market continues to see some risk aversion, which, like I said, I'm surprised the stock market's even up right now. I was surprised yesterday that the stock market continued higher. But if the stock market starts to sell off, then you're going to have a situation where the peso is it will start to strengthen. So 1668 I think is going to be pretty key support. Okay, I might actually try to get long down there, following the Bank of Mexico rate decision. They're expected to cut rates. Make sure that's correct. Hold on. Yeah, so they're expected to cut rates. Should be interesting. If they don't, we're going to probably come down pretty hard here. Okay, resistance is at 1750. We're just going to have to keep it kind of wide. You don't know what will happen following the Bank of Mexico rate decision. This is bullish for now. Let's go over to the Norwegian krona. Now, the Norges Central Bank met overnight. They had Paulie had sent something to me. He said Norway Central Bank chief says probability of March rate cut is more than 50%. So even though in Norway overnight they left rates unchanged, because some were expecting a rate cut today, they said the rate cut in March is probably going to happen. So So initially, we sold off because they didn't cut rates, but because they basically pledged that they're probably going to be cutting rates, that you're seeing the Norwegian krona rally back. I don't think there's a whole lot to do here, other than you just want to buy it on dips. But I don't think there's any place right now that there's a good dip to be bought. Let's go over to the Swedish krona. So the Swedish krona, actually, this is one of those that you got to watch pretty carefully. I'm not long. I wouldn't mind being long this though. But you have to get above 860. I totally spaced this one yesterday. I didn't even look at it. 860 is resistance right now, as it has been, and then support's going to be 852, which will be that hourly spike low. So, US dollar, Swedish krona. I wouldn't mind buying this, especially if the dollar looks like it's going to continue to firm, which, I think it is. Support is at 652. Resistance 6 is 8. Duh. 860. I would actually consider buying the Swedish krona right now. Actually, you know what? What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to buy a little bit of Swedish krona at the moment, and then I'm going to add to it. I just bought some at 857, 857.72, and I'm gonna add it above 860. So if we rally above 860, I'm gonna buy some more. So I went long some here. All right. Looks like the dollar is starting to firm up again. Actually, the euro is only 8 pips away from its lows. All right, guys and gals. So that's it. That's it. Let's take some questions. Here, your bias chart is done. So go ahead and write that down. I'm going to go way back here. All right, hold on one second.